Tripitaka. 3 Texts on Consciousness Only. By Xiansang. The 30 Verses on Consciousness Only by Vasubandhu. The Treatise in 20 Verses, on Consciousness Only by Vasubandhu. Translated from the Chinese of Xiansang Francis H. Cook. First printing, 1999, Numata Center for Buddhist Translation and Research. A message on the publication of the English Tripitaka. The Buddhist canon is said to contain 84,000 different teachings. I believe that this is because the Buddha's basic approach was to prescribe a different treatment for every spiritual ailment, much as a doctor prescribes a different medicine for every medical ailment. Thus his teachings were always appropriate for the particular suffering individual and for the time at which the teaching was given, and over the ages not one of his prescriptions has failed to relieve the suffering to which it was addressed. Ever since the Buddha's great demise over 2,500 years ago, his message of wisdom and compassion has spread throughout the world. Yet no one has ever attempted to translate the entire Buddhist canon into English throughout the history of Japan. It is my greatest wish to see this done, and to make the translations available to the many English-speaking people who have never had the opportunity to learn about the Buddha's teachings.
Of course, it would be impossible to translate all of the Buddha's 84,000 teachings in a few years. I have, therefore, had 139 of the scriptural texts in the prodigious Taisho edition of the Chinese Buddhist canon selected for inclusion in the first series of this translation project. It is in the nature of this undertaking that the results are bound to be criticized. Nonetheless, I am convinced that unless someone takes it upon himself or herself to initiate this project, it will never be done. At the same time, I hope that an improved, revised edition will appear in the future. It is most gratifying that, thanks to the efforts of more than 100 Buddhist scholars from the East and the West, this monumental project has finally gotten off the ground. May the rays of the wisdom of the Compassionate One reach each and every person in the world. Numata Yihan, founder of the English August 7, 1991 Tripitaka Project.
Editorial Foreword. In January 1982, Dr. Numata Yihan, the founder of the Bukkyo Dent Kyakai, Society for the Promotion of Buddhism, decided to begin the monumental task of translating the complete Taisho edition of the Chinese Tripitaka, Buddhist canon, into the English language. Under his leadership, a special preparatory committee was organized in April 1982. By July of the same year, the translation committee of the English Tripitaka was officially convened. The initial committee consisted of the following members: Hanayama Shoi, Chairperson, Bampt Shojun, Isakami Zeno, Kamada Shigeo, Kanaka Shiyu, Maipa Sengoku, Nara Yusuaki, Seivek One Shinko, late, Suewa One Ridtatsu, Tamaru Noriyoshi, late, Tamura Kwanzai, Yuritsu Richin, and Yuyama Akira. Assistant members of the committee were as follows: Kanazawa Atsushi, Watanabe Shogo, Rolf Giebel of New Zealand, and Rudy Smet of Belgium. After holding planning meetings on a monthly basis, the committee selected 139 texts for the first series of translations, an estimated 100 printed volumes in all. The texts selected are not necessarily limited to those originally written in India, but also include works written or composed in China and Japan. While the publication of the first series proceeds, the texts for the second series will be selected from among the remaining works. This process will continue until all the texts, in Japanese as well as in Chinese, have been published.
Frankly speaking, it will take perhaps 100 years or more to accomplish the English translation of the complete Chinese and Japanese texts, for they consist of thousands of works. Nevertheless, as Dr. Numata wished, it is the sincere hope of the committee that this project will continue unto completion, even after all its present members have passed away. It must be mentioned here that the final object of this project is not academic fulfillment but the transmission of the teaching of the Buddha to the whole world in order to create harmony and peace among mankind. To that end, the translators have been asked to minimize the use of explanatory notes of the kind which are indispensable in academic texts so that the attention of general readers will not be unduly distracted from the primary text. Also, a glossary of selected terms is appended to aid in understanding the text.
To my great regret, however, Dr. Numata passed away on May 5, 1994, at the age of 97, entrusting his son, Mr. Numata Toshihida, with the continuation and completion of the translation project. The committee also lost its able and devoted chairperson, Professor Hanayama Shoei, on June 16, 1995, at the age of 63. After these severe blows, the committee elected me, vice president of the Musashinal Women's College, to be the chair in October 1995. The committee has renewed its determination to carry out the noble intention of Dr. Numata, under the leadership of Mr. Numata Toshihida. The present members of the committee are Meipa Sengoku, chairperson, Bandyodi Shojun, Ishikami One Zeno, Ikuishim Masho Shin, Kamada Shigeo, Kanaka Shii, Nara Yasuaki, Saexi Shinko, Tamaru Norioshi, Yuritsu Ritashin, and Yuyama Akira. Assistant members are Watanabe Shogo and Yusipa Noboru.
The Numata Center for Buddhist Translation and Research was established in November 1984, in Berkeley, California, USA, to assist in the publication of the BDK English Tripitaka First Series. In December 1991, the publication committee was organized at the Numata Center, with Professor Philip Yampolsky as the chairperson. To our sorrow, Professor Yampolsky passed away in July 1996, but thankfully Dr. Kenneth Inada is continuing the work as chairperson. This text is the 16th volume to be published and distributed by the Numata Center. All of the remaining texts will be published under the supervision of this committee, in close cooperation with the Translation Committee in Tokyo. Maipa Sengoku, Chairperson. Translation Committee of July 10, 1999. The BDK English Tripitaka.
Publishers Foreword. The Publication Committee works in close cooperation with the Editorial Committee of the BDK English Tripitaka in Tokyo, Japan. Since December 1991, it has operated from the Numata Center for Buddhist Translation and Research in Berkeley, California. Its principal mission is to oversee and facilitate the publication in English of selected texts from the 100-volume Taisho edition of the Chinese Tripitaka, along with a few major influential Japanese Buddhist texts not in the Tripitaka. The list of selected texts is conveniently appended at the end of each volume. In the text itself, the Taisho edition page and column designations are provided in the margins. The committee is committed to the task of publishing clear, readable English texts. It honors the deep faith, spirit, and concern of the late Reverend Dr. Numata Yihen to disseminate Buddhist teachings throughout the world. In July 1996, the committee unfortunately lost its valued chairperson, Dr. Philip Yampolsky, who was a stalwart leader, trusted friend, and esteemed colleague. We follow in his shadow. In February 1997, I was appointed to guide the Committee in his place. The Committee is charged with the normal duties of a publishing firm, general editing.